Alright, it has been a hot minute since I've done a solo character video, but this is a very special update video in response to some hot news that I dropped in my 90s anime drawing video.
Unfortunately, we did lose the commander of our group, Haskell.
And a couple of you were incredibly devastated by this news, which I can't really blame you for. However, the player who was once Haskell is not going to be stopped, so I bring you his next character, and I quote, Appalachia Prince of Persia. And yes, this is a threat. Everybody, I'd like to introduce you to Joash, our player's new character. Now, to really get you to grasp the severity of this character, let me describe the player to you. I don't think I've ever seen this guy make any D&D character. No, not just D&D character. I don't think this guy has ever done anything to less than 300% completion. And especially in D&D, I'm pretty sure the reason he built Haskell was to get the big bonks and also to bonk hard. And he's done a very similar thing for this new character who he has called Joash Runecrest. But having a better sense of what the group is like, now that we've been playing for a while, Joash is built tailored to our rather large group of independently moving pieces. And by independently moving pieces, I mean an absolute group of ticking time bombs that all have their own goals and agendas, of which there's very little overlap. Look, stealthing with 8 people, 2 of which are half horse, is incredibly difficult. Now, while Joash is not at all giving up on stealth, he is an all-seeing, all-knowing, all-weapons-wielding machine, and let me explain to you how this happened. But before I do that, can we just take a moment to appreciate the anatomy work here? Everybody say thank you to Jason Momoa for having lots of pictures that make great anatomy references. Anyways, back to this absolute nonsense character build for a level 5 multi-classed character, and I'm sure it's going to get worse the higher level we get, and by worse I mean better. Joash is a variant human, and you know, when people pick human out of all the really cool fantasy races available in D&D, it means that somebody is trying to build something incredibly specific. Now for the D&D nonsense. Across the board, my guy has 16s in almost all of his stats, besides wisdom, which is at a 13, and strength, which is at an 18. Lucky rolls, you might say, but honestly, I think even if he had unlucky rolls, this guy would have had everything figured out anyways. Joash is 4 levels into Bear Totem Barbarian. This means whenever he rages, he has resistance to all damage that isn't psychic damage, meaning almost any kind of damage this guy takes gets halved. Also, at level 6, he's going to have advantage on any strength check made to push, pull, lift, or break things. Great, right? This guy is set up to be a fantastic barbarian. No, wait. That's not all. My guy doesn't even need advantage on these rolls because he has a plus 10 on all of his athletics checks anyways. So how did we get there? Well, plus 4 from his base stats, plus 3 for his proficiency bonus, and plus 3 from expertise gained from his single level multi-class into Rogue. And Rogue expertise plus this prodigy feat plus a sage background means he has buffed up not only just his athletics, but a ton of other key skills as well. His investigation plus 9, his perception plus 7, and just when you think he's a big bad loud barbarian, no, his stealth is plus 6. What? So this guy is going to find everything out. Nothing is going to escape his eyeballs. His passive investigation is 19. His passive perception is 17. So not only is he going to mess you up in battle, he will take one look at you, know all your weaknesses, know what you had for breakfast, and probably be able to figure out what you're going to have for breakfast tomorrow before you even know. And to top it all off, the pièce de résistance, the cherry on top, just for funsies. He has also picked up the Tavern Brawler feat because clearly this guy doesn't need to be allocating any stat points anywhere. The Tavern Brawler feat allows him to grapple as a bonus action, and this also allows him to use improvised weapons. Yes, that means when he's done beating one guy up, he's going to pick up the KO'd guy and use him as an improvised weapon on the next guy. Just for fun. I don't know about y'all, but clearly I've been playing D&D wrong. Who am I over here all like, ooh, I'm going to multi-class sorcerer so I can twin spell voice of authority with my order cleric, when Jason Joash Runecrest Momoa is out here playing me both in and out of my own class. That's a joke, by the way. I'm truly grateful for the addition of Joash to the team. Better on my team than against my team. Neither I nor Inkashi are particularly confrontational or leader type people, and I would feel very guilty trying to push everyone everybody in certain directions, even though sometimes a person who can focus on tasks is very necessary in a campaign. But oh boy, a leader? She is not me. She is not me. So Joash being able to instigate action, having a high charisma, having excellent perception, and just being a beacon of leadership, I'm not mad. I'm not mad at all. Back to the drawing, as you can see in the bottom left, and by the fact that I had a completely different color scheme laid out earlier, this was actually a commission that is a continuation of somebody else's commission. While I did draw my own base just so that it was consistent with my personal drawing style, the original color palette was picked by a different artist. The red and black color palette that I had going on earlier was just me asking the player if he wanted a version where he was wearing the colors of the army unit, to which he said he would start with the original color palette, and if he ever wanted a unit-themed armor set, he would recommission me, which is so nice. There was a fun irony in the very obvious visual inspiration between this guy and Jason Momoa. While I didn't do as direct of a reference for the Haskell that I drew, we did end up agreeing as a group that he was sort of Henry Cavill adjacent, which makes this meme a little bit funny, in a bit of a morbid way. I do feel a little bad that we as a group did not spend much time mourning the passing of Haskell, but I suppose it is an army unit and there's just a lot going on. You see, we all did go to the gala, as previously mentioned, and there we were met with a lot of sloths. I've actually ruined the word slod for everyone in the party because whenever sloths are mentioned, I start singing, Mr. Slodman, slide me a man. Anyways, that happened and we all almost died, and I almost super died, and then Haskell did die, but not because of a slod. He was actually yoinked very suddenly by a dragon. And after the gala and cleanup was done, we did actually gain the favor of a number of important officials in the town, and were also tipped off to their needing investigation at the Ministry of Water. The Ministry of Water is very central to the well-being of a desert city, believe it or not, and actually the building is not a well or a cistern, but rather it houses a well-kept and controlled rift into the elemental plane of water, or at least it was well kept, because recently people have been growing sick from drinking said water, and the two highest sorcerers in the city who can do anything about it are nowhere to be found. So of course, we're next in line to solve the issue, even though we're not even close to being the most powerful entities in the city. Also, of course we couldn't have just found the source of the issue and entered. Our warlock had to go and sign a blood contract with some high-ranking official in the city saying that he would be marked by assassins if the mission went poorly, and also if there was any evidence that we were working against the favor of the city, which is super fun considering the fact that the original purpose that we were put in the city was as scouts to see out how to overtake the city for empire expansion purposes. But all that trouble aside, all 8 of us managed to be in good graces and were allowed into the rift into the water plane. Why anyone is trusting us to be able to complete this mission, I don't know. Probably because at the very least, if we're not strong, we're at least expendable. And with the last half minute or so of the drawing, let me do what I always do and complain about hair and fur. Actually, in this case, I'm not sure if it's because the drawing was actually done a while ago and I don't have the wrist pain anymore post having had to draw hair and a lot of fur, or if it was actually just as easy as I remember it being. But I don't really feel like this one bothered me very much at all. Also, yes, there is a little bit of what is definitely ketchup splatter on the bare hide bound book, because the player said, and I quote, "Please make the book big enough that if I used it as an improvised weapon, it can do roughly 1d8 bludgeoning damage." And I said, "Coming right up, sir." And that's Jason Joash Runecrest Momoa, or just Joash Runecrest if you please. I'm really happy with how this one turned out. I think all the little details are really, really nice. The player was also super pleased with the result, so that's all I need to make me happy. Also, I sent this video to the party and it was received with bittersweet glee. It's almost as if nothing's happened. I know this was a bit of a shorter video, especially after 5 weeks of straight up art fight content that has all been multiple drawings, but it has been really nice for me to be able to ease up on the work a little bit and get back to talking about the little D&D adventures that we've been having every once in a while, and I wish equally all the best on you and your D&D adventures, and any Renaissance Fair or other relevant cosplay prep work that you are all planning on completing. There always seems to be some big event or several big events at this time of year for whatever reason. I don't know. Who knows? Not me.